Hey, welcome back to the Nail Your Positioning YouTube channel, where we discuss startups, startup growth pain points, obviously, product market fit, all the sexy topics in the industry, right? So here is a story that I came across in the last couple of weeks. A person contacted me saying that whenever she sends out an offer, people just ghost her. They disappear. Now, this story might sound familiar because it often happens in B2B enterprise sales. So this founder said that, she had a prospective client, talking to them. They had a couple of introductory calls. The calls went well. The client was, on board and happy with what she could provide, or her company could provide to them. And when she sent out, she spent all this time crafting the perfect offer for them, making it look nice, making it make sense. And then at the end of the day, when she sent out the offer, crickets, right? Nothing happens. Nobody replies. If you follow up with them, nothing happens. They don't reply to your emails. Basically, the client ghosted her. And this is something that I see a lot in B2B enterprise sales, simply because, you have these massive projects that, take a lot of effort to get going, and they take a lot of they take a lot of money to get going, and it takes, an enormous amount of effort just to think about what your company will look like after you've, integrated a new software into your company. So 60% of B2B talks end in no decision, because it's difficult to make that decision to go forward with the project, with that, large project for $500,000 a year. So today I wanted to discuss that. I wanted to discuss how can we position the offer so that the client doesn't just understand it, but it actually, they actually accept it. And we'll start with this: 3 reasons why B2B clients don't respond to your offers. Now, 60% of B2B enterprise deals end in no decision. Think about it. Let it sink in. 60% means that you're not just competing against your competitors, but you're competing with the status quo as well. Now, the number one reason why you won't get your next client is because they'll just end up not changing anything. And it's a pain in the ass, because you're putting all of that effort into creating, presentation decks, the offer, all those calls that you went through with different decision makers in the buying process, only for the client to ghost you. All the while, obviously, you're strapped for cash, because those long sales cycles aren't bringing in any fast cash. You have, investors breathing down your neck on one end, expecting results, your team on the other end depending on you to get that deal closed, and the client just disappears after, 3 or 4 amazing calls. So let's get into the reasons why the no decision happens, so you can improve your conversion rates and shorten your sales cycles. Reason number 1, not accepting your offer is the easiest thing to do. Yep, that's right. One of the major problems with, SaaS sales, especially when selling major projects to enterprise clients, is that the simplest solution is basically to do nothing. Think about it. Put yourself in your client's shoes for a moment. If somebody among the, decision makers backs your deal, they're putting their name on the line, right? They're taking a risk, right? If something goes wrong, if your team doesn't deliver, if your software doesn't deliver, if their team doesn't embrace the software, they have backed a huge project that failed. And that risk is that much higher when you're a startup, because the risk of you running out of cash, the startup, going under, is huge. And, changing software once the team is using it is difficult. So the easiest, safest way to go is to do nothing. So even if things go well, you start the project, integrate the software into the company, then set up the processes for that company, help them learn the software, embrace the software, and even that's a big undertaking. The learning curve is steep. The pain of learning new software, especially for non-tech savvy people. So it's difficult already to integrate the software into the company and have the team embrace the software. But let's say that everything goes well, the team starts using the software, they like it, they get used to it, and then you run out of money and your startup fails. Sure, there are contingency plans, but you want a software that's going to be upgraded, that's going to get updates, new features, not not a software that's just going to get kept alive and on life support. Now there is a psychological factor to this as well, because from the emotional perspective, change is hard. Just think the last time that you wanted to change something about yourself, how much effort, how much discipline it takes to really make a change. On the other end, not making the change is easy. Everything stays the same. You still get to your office on Monday using the same software you have been using for the past few years. You know how to use it. It's shit software, but who cares, right? Nothing changes. It's easy, right? Now that's why the pain of not switching the software needs to be much, much bigger than the pain of switching the software. You really need to do well to paint a picture of what's going to happen, the downside if the client doesn't switch to your product. If you can't paint that picture, just say goodbye to enterprise sales. And so the risk with working with startups is greater. The psychology works against you as well, which is why a slow growth approach in that case is usually best. When we're getting those initial sales with my clients, whenever possible, we target the smaller companies first. This helps us immensely in all aspects. The sales cycles with smaller companies are shorter, which means a much healthier cash flow. The buying committee, the decision-making unit is smaller. The expectations that the client has are easily manageable. Faster and easier sales mean more case studies, more references, which then helps to build credibility with enterprise clients. So the solution to enterprise sales when you're a startup is actually not going after the biggest company on the market, because that's, it's not healthy for your sales cycles. The length of your sales cycle is it's not feasible for your references and case studies that you want to have. Basically, the solution to the first problem is going to a smaller target and more targets so that you can build that traction up before you close an enterprise client. Now, reason number 2 why you're getting ghosted. You're overcomplicating the offer. This is something that I see often when clients contact me for help. They put effort into creating the perfect offer, think through all the details, all the technical aspects, the integration, everything. They do this like huge project just before even they send out the offer, only to never hear from the client again. And bear in mind that I mostly work with highly complex tech products, so the offer is created by highly intelligent, highly technical people who have all the knowledge on the industry, have been working within the industry for decades, and have successfully sold their software to clients in the past. So what actually goes wrong? Well, the first step with the clients is usually to take a careful and long look at the offers that they're sending out. Usually we find that offers are very detailed. They include a lot of information, technical text, sometimes even sketches and technical data on how the solution would look like. In fact, the offers are way too detailed, too technical. Now, while all that technical data and the sketches and everything else might make sense to you as a technical founder, who has been working in the industry for the past 10 years, the client might not have the same experience. Because often on the client side, the person taking a look at your offer isn't actually, the CEO of the company or somebody really experienced. It might be somebody relatively new to the industry who got the task of evaluating different software providers, filter the ones that don't work and put those that are compatible with their systems ahead to the department head. Now, if your offer is highly technical, too technical to be understood by a relatively new person, your offer might not even make it to the decision maker's table, and you'll be scratching your head on what the hell went wrong, right? Now, the solution is obvious. Simplify your offer. Now, we can always go more into the detail and explain things further, but one of the keys to a good offer is clarity. Going very in-depth, going technical actually reduces clarity. So make sure you fully understand what your potential client is looking for in your software and explain how you'll deliver that value and nothing else. All other features, all other benefits, everything else is redundant at this point. Show the client that you have the solution for what they're looking for, and exactly that. Everything else is a topic for another day. And that's the reason why with my clients, we often analyze the sales process, the client's buying process. So we fully understand how the client evaluates the software. This helps you stay on point to the offer. You have to ask yourself the question, do they need to know that? Or it's better left out, because if it doesn't add anything to the offer, it's just there to reduce the clarity. Now, another trick you can use is to prepare the offer, then leave it aside for 24 to 48 hours, and then go back and check whether everything you have written is actually relevant for the client. So go back to the client's request for proposal or the transcript of the call that you had, and just compare, did I answer all the questions, and did I add anything that doesn't make any sense, or did I add anything that they don't need to know at this point in the journey? Because the clients, at the end of the day, they need to get all the information they're looking for, but not a lot more than that. Giving them more than that, it's not an advantage at this point. It reduces clarity, making it more difficult for them to understand the offer, and lowers your chances of them getting back to you. All right, reason number 3 why you're getting ghosted is you're talking to the wrong people. We've already touched on this just now, but your offers might not be read by people who you think are reading them. Especially the initial assessments are not carried out by top management, which is, by the way, why targeting your website at the decision maker might be a wrong idea. If you target the CEO of the company or someone from the management team, but the person actually looking at your website is someone, much lower, like an assistant or someone, you're not positioning your website for the correct target audience. Basically, the assistant will have a different way of evaluating the software than the CEO will, right? Because the CEO is probably somebody who's worked in the industry for the past 15 years, while the assistant is, relatively new to the industry. They'll have different needs, different jobs to be done. They'll need to see different benefits. Your language will have to be that much clearer for them. Now, same goes for your offer, right? You need to know who evaluates your offer initially and write that offer, at least partially, for them. One of the major projects that we do when we are starting with a new client is to map the entire sales process on basically the client's buying process. We map out the entire network of people who gets in touch with us for our service first. What do they want to see? How do they evaluate the offer? What are they looking for in the software? What are their personal benefits that they're looking for? Who do they report to? Who are the other participants in the buying process? And when do they come into play? Because in enterprise sales, it's surely going to be legal, compliance, risk, financial in that process, but not necessarily on the calls and not necessarily in the beginning. So you might never even speak to them, but you still have to communicate your benefits for them. It's important to know, what they want and when to communicate the benefits for all these participants, so everybody is on board. So basically that you're pushing the project ahead in the buyer's journey. Making the decision of no decision is so easy that you need to have a green light from everyone in the decision-making unit. They all need to see your value, the value you're providing, or they will end up making that no decision. Now, obviously, mapping everything out is a complex process. The problem is that the hierarchies differ from, the size of the company as well as between the companies. So imagine if you have 5 products, each one you can sell to just, 3 different customer segments. Each customer segments differs by size and from company to company. So you get countless options on who to sell to. And then you need to map out the relationships within them as well. So will the head of department be ready to reach out if he hears about your product, or does he need an incentive like, this team member said that we need to solve that problem and that software does it. So it's crucial for you to understand not just how they evaluate the software on the company level, but also like the personal benefits and wants and needs of people in the buying process. And this is precisely why it's imperative that you niche down and focus on a single customer segment. Having 126 different entry points to different types of customers who you then need to, do some custom work for them is not a scalable business model. Now, this is exactly the case that we had with one of my clients recently. The company has 6 products that they can sell to at least 12 different customer segments who have different needs, different ways of evaluating the software. On average, there are at least 5 people in the buying process, meaning we could start marketing our solutions in at least, 380 different ways. So, product 1 to segment 1 to person 1, product 2 to segment 1 to person 1, and so on. Now, that's not viable and that's not scalable. So we use the positive marketing trend, so a market that's growing, and the assets that we have in the company's differentiation, basically, to focus our efforts on 4 different customer segments who all have an immediate need right now. Because the need is immediate, in this case, it's a regulation change forcing the companies to use either our solution or one of the competitors. There is no the no decision is less of an option, as the company risks a penalty for not complying with the regulation. Now, the niching down helps us grow our market share within the industry much faster, leading to improved performance in the future due to higher credibility. Basically, we are eliminating the risk that comes with being a startup. And things in the future add up, right? Because you're focusing on something that's a growing market, so you can grow with it, you can have positive results by just growing with the market. Niching down creates a scalable business model, and that business model then helps you build your credibility for any clients that come after that. So basically, because of that decision to niche down and focus on a single customer segment, or in this case single use case, it helps you build and grow much faster. So here is a quick summary of everything we've talked about so far. The biggest reasons for you getting ghosted when sending out offers in B2B enterprise sales are: it's easier to not change anything. It's easier to just stick to the status quo. Your offers are too complicated. You're talking to the wrong people in the company. Now, if you found this useful, subscribe to the channel so you get notified when I publish new videos. I publish at least 20 videos or so a month. Give the video a like, comment, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Next, we'll take a deeper look at how to position your offer so buyers won't just understand it, but happily accept it. If your clients don't understand your offer or don't see the value in your offer, they will simply disappear after receiving it. Just like a client of mine made a huge offer against my recommendation. It would bring 125K into the company, and the offer was to help the business expand and practically build an empire from it. But that was too much. The offer was way too complex. The client disappeared because they didn't see and understand the vision in that offer. If you want your offer to be accepted, it needs to be exactly right, not too complex, not too simple, and just clear enough for the client to sell hell yeah. Now you can try to, improve your offer and miss out on great opportunities along the way while making mistakes, or you can follow these steps that, help my clients improve their conversion rates and lower the ghosting rates. Step 1, you need to know your customers. Specifically, you need to know your customers' wishes so you can address them in the offer. If you want your clients to say yes to your offers, you need to know how to pitch them. What do they want to achieve? That's your main promise with your offer, your value proposition for the offer, if you will. Next, you need to understand how your clients evaluate the offers. What's important for them when buying this kind of a product? What are they looking for in a product? For example, when the evaluation criteria when buying a car might be, speed, horsepower, safety, reliability. You need to know what's the criteria in your case. Now, don't forget to add personal ambition to that when selling B2B enterprise software. What's this person's personal ambition and how can I satisfy it? For example, if you're selling a CRM software and you're talking to the head of sales, the personal evaluation criteria might be, how can I control the sales team? Because the person has to report to their boss, and he needs to know who is providing the most value to him, who on his team is a good seller and who isn't. During the call or when reading the offer, they will look for the clues whether your software will help them do that. Now, as a first step, we map the whole decision-making unit. Who is in the room when making the decision on your offer? Who will they consult? Risk, legal, finance are surely to be involved, and they will have different criteria on how they evaluate the software. Different things will be important for them. So add that to the needs you have already mapped out. When you have all that, you put that in your offer. You structured it into a presentation. Your value proposition on the top. That's what we're helping you achieve, and then the plan of how we are achieving it and how we are satisfying all your needs. Obviously, adding the differentiation, what makes you special, why they should choose you over the competitor, testimonials, case studies, past results as proof that you can actually deliver. Now, once you're done, start sending it out to the clients that approach you, and you'll see a spike in conversions. Most companies that I see send out way too much information, especially when you're selling a highly complex tech product. The founders who are experts in their fields, they try to explain everything that the product can do, which confuses the person reading it because they didn't want that. Your clients don't care about your product. They just need a solution for their problem. By addressing their needs, showing them how you're different from your competition, you're giving them all the information they need at this point. Anything more than that is likely to just confuse them, and they'll ghost you. Now, next, we'll talk about how to actually map out the whole decision-making unit. Now, one thing that's really important when you're creating your offer, you need to understand who is in the decision-making unit. You need to make sure that you're talking to the right people, because the problem is, and one of the most misguided pieces of advice we hear in B2B is that we need to position the offer for the decision maker in the company. That's true, but it's also misguided for two reasons. One, the decision maker usually won't be the one reading your offer first. They won't be the first layer of filtering. So an offer, your website, your sales deck positioned specifically for the decision maker might never make it to the decision maker. You need to lead in with a clearer, smaller offer that an employee can understand, so they let you through the filter to the decision maker. Two, you need to position your offer for everyone in the buying process. Now, here is my client's story. Whenever someone reached out to them, it was always the department head. So they naturally assumed that the department head is the one that they need to target when reaching out to potential clients. That is, until we started working together and started, testing this assumption. We learned that the department head won't actually take an action until they have a demand made by one of the subordinates, one of the employees in the department. Basically, the department head couldn't take the offer to the management unless they had a reason to. So when they reached out, obviously they had a reason to. One of the employees exposed the problem. The department had took this to the management. The management said, inquired about potential solutions for this, and they reached out. But turned this story on its head, and reaching out to the department head was completely useless, as they were powerless to do anything about my client's inquiry. They didn't have a reason to, right? That's why you need to fully understand who your clients are. What does their hierarchy look like and how they operate? Because if you don't, you'll just spend tons of time and money on your sales team reaching out to people who don't have the ability to help you. So the goal is to get, to the complete user journey, know who your buy-in is so you can target content at them, position the website for them, and then the process, who they speak to, present, and what do they need to do that to push your project further. And here are the steps on how to do that. 1, everything starts with research. Find out who is who in the company. You can use tools like LinkedIn and Leadfeeder and similar services who will show you the hierarchy of the company. In the Sales Navigator, it clearly shows who's the decision maker, who's the management, the C-level suits, etc., etc. So use the tools, do the research, find out who is who, how is the company's hierarchy structured. One really good way of doing that is actually talking to people. So just having interviews with them, having coffee meetings with them, and just asking the question on how their hierarchy is structured. Next, map it all out. Take a tool, I use Miro.com, and just map the hierarchies of different companies into that so that you can understand, so that you can visually see how the hierarchy is structured. The first step is to position for everyone involved. That means, taking a framework, you can use my framework on Miroverse, and just going through the steps, figuring out what's important for every decision maker in the unit. Now, finally, when you have a map, it's time to test that in real life scenario, right? So create a reach out campaign, start reaching out to people on LinkedIn, start reaching out to people who you think are the best buy-in into the company, and just send them your value proposition. Hi, name, we're doing this and that, we're solving this kind of issues, are you interested? This helps you start learning about the process and confirm or change your map. Eventually, you'll end up with a full map, fully understanding, how the hierarchies look like, and that will basically be your unfair advantage. How you market, how you sell, it's going to be an unfair advantage against your competitors, because your competitors can't see that, right? Your competitors won't be able to know, how can you get to these companies so quickly, so fast? Well, you can, because you know who you need to talk to, how what's the step 1 in the process, what's the step 2 in the process, what's the step 3 in the process. And once you know that, the competitors can't copy that because they don't have that information. Now, if you want something like that done for you, just reach out to me either here or on LinkedIn, and let's get this done for your company. So to summarize, you need your offer to be clear. It doesn't have to be too technical, or it shouldn't be too technical. It should be really clear to understand. It needs to be positioned for the right person in the decision-making unit, the one that's going to have the ability to get you into the company and start the process of, basically the sales journey. Now, that process is much easier, much faster, and much more scalable if you niche down to a single customer segment or a single use case. Next, you need to position your offer for everyone involved, for everyone in the decision-making unit. You need to map out who is in the decision-making unit and how can you, position your offer for them. Once you have that, you can start testing your offer on the companies. So reach out to companies, give them your value proposition, start initiating the discussions, and if you positioned your offer successfully, this will lead to sales conversations. And as always, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment on it, reach out if you need any help, and may your customers love you and understand your product.